Her name was omitted from every press release, her story erased from the company's official history. She reclaimed her seat at the table.
But I was
not an assistant, not support, the architect, the owner. As the city outside glowed with dawn, she stepped out into the morning air. It is late. Two scenes play out at once, opposite sides of the same city, opposite sides of a marriage.
On one side, the husband stands under dazzling lights, surrounded by men in expensive suits and women in glittering dresses. The ballroom pulses with music and the pop of champagne corks. He laughs, raising a glass, basking in the golden light of their company's newest launch.
Across town, his wife sits in a narrow office, half lit by a single desk lamp. The air is heavy, silent except for the soft hum of the copier and the steady, deliberate voice of her lawyer. Her face is tight, her eyes shining, not with tears, but with calculation.
In that moment, two different worlds are turning. The husband, surrounded by adoration, cannot see the storm gathering in that small, shadowy office. The wife, in silence, is preparing for the fight of her life. Only one knows the trap that is about to snap shut.
Years earlier, their lives looked nothing like this. Back then, their dreams were just whispers, and their ambitions seemed impossibly far away. The company began in a cramped garage with peeling paint and a crooked window, a place that felt more like a forgotten storage room than the birthplace of innovation. At night, the only light came from a bare bulb overhead, buzzing softly, casting long shadows across the scattered tools and half-finished projects.
Together, they worked side by side, her laptop balanced on a milk crate, his tools spread out on a folding table. The air was thick with hope and uncertainty, but they pressed on, determined to make something out of nothing. It was not glamorous, but it was theirs. Money was tight. Every dollar was counted, every expense weighed against the dream they refused to let go. She sold her old car, trading it for the first shipment of microchips. It was a sacrifice, but one she made without hesitation, believing in what they could build together.
He stayed up nights sketching circuit boards, his mind racing with ideas, fueled by coffee and the quiet hum of possibility. While she scoured online forums for investors and filed endless paperwork, searching for anyone who might believe in their vision as much as they did. They dreamed of something bigger, something that could change the world. Their vision board was crowded with sketches, notes, and wild hopes.
Early victories came quietly, a prototype that finally worked, a tiny spark of success in the darkness, a first client who paid on time, validating months of hard work and sleepless nights. They celebrated with cheap wine, their laughter echoing off garage walls, savoring the taste of progress, no matter how small. Every small win felt enormous. They were a team, united by grit and a shared belief in the impossible.
Yet even then, shadows flickered at the edge of the light. She kept careful notes, documenting every setback and every breakthrough, determined to learn from each step. And promises, like wires, can snap. But with every break, they found new ways to reconnect, to keep moving forward, no matter how uncertain the path ahead.
She was the architect of their future, though few saw it.
She registered the trademark. Her name, not his, typed beside the company's bold new logo. She kept the records, paid the taxes, and chased down every missing signature. In meetings with bankers, her voice was cool and certain.
He dazzled with ideas. She built the foundation. She learned to read contracts, to spot the fine print that could choke a dream. When the first investor threatened to walk, she found a way to keep him. When their prototype failed, she convinced the supplier to give them one more chance.
Her confidence was quiet but unbreakable. While he worked the spotlight, she worked the shadows. Few even noticed.
She made sure her name was woven tightly into the fabric of the business. Her foresight, buried in piles of paperwork, would become her greatest weapon. Growth came in fits and starts. Some days, the energy in the office was electric, with everyone moving fast, ideas bouncing off the walls. Other days, it felt like nothing was happening at all, just empty chairs and the hum of computers filling the silence. The company got its first office, bare walls, cheap carpet, and a humming server in the corner. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Every wire exposed, every scuff on the floor felt like a badge of honor. We were building something real, even if it didn't look like much yet.
I hired our first employee. It was a leap of faith for both of us. We shook hands in that tiny office, both knowing we were taking a risk, but excited by the possibilities. Taught myself how to run payroll by watching videos late into the night. I'd pause, rewind, scribble notes, and try again. There was no manual for this, just grit, caffeine, and a stubborn refusal to give up.
I started speaking at local tech meetups, pitching our vision with, this restless energy. Every event was a chance to share our story, to find believers, to convince just one more person that we could make it.
Their schedules barely overlapped, but their shared ambition was a constant pulse between them. Even when they only crossed paths for a moment, there was an unspoken understanding. They were in this together, chasing the same dream. The days blurred into nights filled with coding, budgeting, and crisis solving. Sometimes it felt endless, one problem solved, another waiting, but every late night brought them closer to something bigger.
When a key client nearly pulled out, I flew across the country. I barely slept, rehearsing my pitch on the plane, determined not to let everything we'd built slip away. Closed the deal with a handshake and a stare that would not break. In that moment, I knew we'd earned our place at the table.
She's a fixer. No matter what went wrong, she found a way to make it right. If there was a mess, she'd sort it out. Quietly, efficiently, every single time. Always joked about her magic paperwork. Somehow, she made the impossible look easy, turning chaos into order with a smile.
They won their first award. It was small, but it meant everything. For a moment, the whole team really believed, that they could win. Suddenly, investors called them instead of the other way around. The tables had turned. For the first time, they felt like the ones in demand.
I grinned for the cameras. It felt surreal, like we'd finally arrived, even if only for a moment.
I smiled from the sidelines. Watching the team celebrate, I felt proud, but also a little apart, as if I was already looking ahead to the next challenge. But the higher they climbed, the more the ground beneath them shifted. Success brought new pressures, new doubts, and the fear that everything could change in an instant. She noticed the way he introduced her less. The spotlight shifted, and suddenly she was standing in the shadows, wondering if she still belonged. For every victory, there was a whisper of something else. A future where she was not in the picture. Even as the confetti fell, she felt the distance growing. A silent question hanging in the air. What happens next?
On a cold, bright morning, the company's valuation soared to $100 million, a milestone that seemed to promise a future filled with hope and possibility. The office buzzed with excitement. Laughter echoed off the glass walls, champagne flowed freely, and the sharp scent of fresh flowers mingled with the electric energy of success. Everyone was celebrating, believing they were part of something extraordinary.
But I saw it in his eyes. A new distance, a cold calculation that hadn't been there before. In that moment, I realized something had shifted between us. Something fundamental and irreversible. He was already living in a world without me, making plans that no longer included the person who had stood by his side from the very beginning.
The betrayal arrived swiftly, wrapped in cold legal jargon and delivered by a courier's steady hand. Divorce papers, an ending disguised as paperwork, as if our years together could be reduced to a signature.
To them, she was just office support. The woman who fetched coffee, ran errands, and quietly signed checks. They never saw her as an equal, never recognized her true value. I'm the genius, the architect, the visionary behind our success. Without me, there would be nothing. That's what I told myself, and what I made others believe.
She was written out of the story, her presence erased from the very place she helped build. She tried to fight back, but the ground shifted beneath her feet. Old alliances faded away, and friends she once trusted began to choose sides, leaving her isolated.
You're fired. Just like that, her role was over, her contributions dismissed with a single sentence.
He fired her from the company, changing the locks on the office they had built together, as if she had never existed. Her face was scrubbed from the company website, her image blurred and forgotten. Her name was omitted from every press release, her story erased from the company's official history.
But I was not gone. I refused to disappear, even if they tried to erase me. I watched from the shadows. I waited, patient and determined, knowing that my time would come. I remembered every form I had signed, every agreement, every detail that could make a difference. Every piece of paper I had tucked away was a piece of my story, a record of my role in building this company.
She had been erased from the story, but not from the law. The records remained, and so did her rights. The real battle was just beginning, a fight not just for recognition, but for justice and for the truth to finally come to light. The day of the IPO, the company's headquarters buzzed with nervous energy. The boardroom was all glass and steel, the light harsh and cold.
I stood at the head of the table, tie perfectly knotted, voice polished for the cameras.
I entered quietly, flanked by my legal team.
The room grew tense, chatter dying away. Her heels clicked against the tile, a measured, steady sound. She took her seat, no longer at the edge, but at the center. The lawyers passed documents back and forth in silence.
I smiled for the cameras, but my hands trembled on the table. Only she knew what was about to happen.
At the meeting's end, she stood. Her lawyer handed over a single envelope, thick, stamped, and final. Inside proof that she, not he, owned the company's original trademark. Without her signature, the company could not legally use its name, its logo, or its identity. The silence was absolute.
You cannot erase me. You cannot erase what I built.
The board, stunned, realized the truth. The company's success was built on her foundation.
Wait, this can't be.
He tried to argue, but the law was not on his side. She reclaimed her seat at the table, not an assistant, not support, the architect, the owner. As the city outside glowed with dawn, she stepped out into the morning air.